All right, good evening everybody. It is the 27th of May. Another little video we're doing today. Thanks for replying for a few comments just recently. So thanks for those people who've been commenting on the recent videos, which is really great. Look always forward to reading those and commenting on those. And thanks to everybody else that's been watching and sharing and liking and subscribing too. That's just really amazing. So this video a little bit different. This has been asked by quite a few people actually to know a little bit more about my background, because obviously people are listening to what I'm saying, which is nice. And obviously it always helps to know somebody's background a little bit, to find out where they came from, what life experiences they've had, so that you know what they're basing their opinions on, if you like. So today's video is going to be about basically my life, my business life, and you can see how I've grown my business and where it's gone and everything else, and my ups and downs and of that. So here we go. So to start with, I was originally from Ohakune, a nice small little town the other side of Mount Ruapehu, brought up on a farm. So obviously farming boy, loved all this farming stuff and machinery and motorbikes and all that kind of stuff. Built my first powered trolley when I was about 10 or 11. Had a, you know how most little kids have this trolley where you just have a 4x2 and 4 wheels and a bit of a string to steer the steering wheel, and then an apple box for a seat. Well, I did mine out of steels, and I had, for the cross members, for the wheels, I actually had spring steel off a leaf spring off a car, and so mine had a bit of suspension as well, which is pretty cool. So I built that quite early on, might have been about 8 or so, with the help of my dad. And then when I was about 10 or 11, I decided I wanted to power it up, so I nicked an old chainsaw off Dad and took it apart and actually motorised my little trolley. So it was a lot of fun and everything else, and I think that trolley is still around today somewhere actually, so we had a lot of fun with that, so that's pretty cool. So when I was 16, I bought my first truck. I paid $300 for it and went out haymaking, contracting, picking up hay bales. Obviously working on the farm, all that kind of stuff, I was doing that anyway. But so me and some mates got together, I bought the truck and I just employed some of my mates. We went out to some other farmers and picked up their hay. I remember the first day that we worked, we actually hadn't made enough money to pay off the truck, which I thought was quite cool. So that was my first little into proper business, if you like. Doing that for a few months, that was pretty cool. And then I did some shearing, skiing, picked apples down in Nelson, all that kind of stuff. Worked at the ski fields for 4 years. That was a lot of fun. Shore sheep too for 4 years, so that was cool. Obviously learned how to work very hard. One of probably the hardest jobs anybody will ever get is shearing sheep for 9 hours a day. It's a bit like running a marathon pretty much every single day. So pretty hard but good. And then when I was a bit older, then I got into agricultural contracting. I worked for a friend of mine who had an agricultural contracting business in Ohakune, and he was getting out, moving on to trucks, and I decided to buy his business, and away I went and did some agricultural contracting. It was only really from about August through to Christmas, and then a little bit over in the New Year as well. Then we did haymaking, and then I had a little bit of autumn stuff. I definitely had a bit of a gap in the winter of not doing much. So at the same time, my brother-in-law was working out at Winstone Pulp Mill, and he said that there's an opportunity out there that maybe you could put some bins out there and do some rubbish. So I investigated all that. At the same time, the local council were investigating maybe contracting out their rubbish removal, and before long I was a rubbish man and had a truck and hiab and some bins and did that. And funny enough, I still got that business to this day. It's still down in Ohakune and it's still operating. So it's just amazing how you look back now and go, God, that was a long time ago, but it's still there and still operating. So that's quite cool. So we did that, but I actually, after doing agricultural contracting for quite a few years and everything else, I just felt in my bones, and I don't know why, and I guess some people just, Ohakune is a very small town, and I just felt like I was never really, I couldn't see myself being there for the rest of my life. I don't know why, I don't know, just always felt a little bit different. I remember when I was about 18 and thinking that all my mates were at someone's place having a bit of a party, all the mates there drinking, all in their farmers shirts and jeans and everything else. And I could tell that maybe Ohakune was a bit small for me and I needed to go bigger towns, because as they were wearing that, so you got your farmer sons in their farming shirts and everything else, I had a Don Johnson white suit on, and a band scarf thing and everything else to go with it, like your Duran Duran. So I was a little bit out there really in those days. So that's probably why I felt Ohakune was a bit small for me. And in 1990, I decided to make the move and move to Taupo. Now I sold my agriculture contracting business. I kept the rubbish business because that was actually quite easy to maintain and run with someone else doing it, which is why I've still got it today. And I moved up in Taupo. Had no real idea what I was going to do anything else. I just decided to move and see what happened. And so I came to Taupo, bought a house and looked for a job, and the first job that I found was actually selling real estate. And I thought that'd be quite cool because if I sell real estate, it gives me a bit of free time to do some other stuff. And so I applied for that job, got the job, but then realised, then I got told that, no, you have to actually get a licence, and that takes 3 or 4 months. So I thought, what am I going to do in the meantime? So as I was driving home, there was a car salesman's job advertised, and I turned around and went back and got that. And I actually worked there for 1.5 years. So that was interesting. And I think one of the great things about selling cars for me was that I think everybody in their life needs to learn how to sell, because communicating with people and trying to sell a product, there's so much things you can learn by doing that as a job. So I was really grateful for that and had a great time and great education. Did that for 1.5 years, and then we actually went back and used my real estate license and sold real estate, which is why I still like property and everything else. But that was really only an excuse really to be fair, to build race cars. So when I moved to Taupo in 1990, I bought my first race car. I've been racing go-karts 4 years prior to that in Oakuni. Been racing around Tamarani and stuff. And bought my first single-seater race car, raced it for 1 year, and then decided that I think I could build a better one. And so then I decided to try and build one. It was a complete disaster. And that's when I realised I had to go and learn some stuff, read some books on aerodynamics and engineering and airflow and all that kind of stuff that you need to know. So I taught myself on that, bought myself the next car, built another car. At the same time, also had my first customer where I did some driving schools, and I figured that if I could get 1 or 2 a week, that would actually be quite good money back in those days. I could almost make a living out of it maybe. So I was doing that, still selling cars and real estate, of course, but playing around with this car thing idea as well. So it took another 6 years. So 1996 is basically when I had a big enough organisation that I could actually leave my other jobs and work on the race car scenario full time. And by then I had one of the biggest race teams in New Zealand. We're running 6 cars with a lot of young kids that we're putting through. I was still driving myself. The following year I won the championship, and it was just a great time, great bunch of guys, and really, really enjoyed it. And that was really cool. So by now it's a business. I'm making money out leasing race cars out and also doing some driver training and schoolwork here in Taupo, where we're letting people drive our race cars for a fee. And so that was pretty cool. And then did that for a few years, and I always had this idea that I wanted to build my own kind of race car that was in my own class, if you like. So the cars that I was building prior to that was Formula First, which is done by a set of rules. It's been around the world for a long time. But I wanted to make something a little bit special, and so I loved Formula One, and I watched that a lot, of course, and went over to Australia and watched the Grand Prix in 1996 when Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill came together. So that was all pretty cool. And then so I designed a new car, and we called it Formula Challenge. And that was because I just wanted to have the impression of a Formula One car, to drive like a Formula One car without actually the huge expenses that go with it, because I had no money. So the cheapest way to get power and a gearbox all together was a motorbike engine, because that's a motorbike and the gearbox comes in one. So we did that. So I designed one, built car, and we had that running in 1999. And thought that was pretty cool. What are we going to do now? And so then I built another one. So when we had 2, one of the people that we had running in one of our race teams decided he wanted to put a bit of money in, and we built another couple. And before long, we had enough cars to cruise around and almost do our own little race. So we built a few more. So then we had 10, and then we started up our race series, just based on those cars. And then we did a TV series with that. We did 4 years of TV. And that was because a lot of the TV back in those days, this is the year 2000, 2002 and stuff, there was all the motorsport around New Zealand was over the summertime, and that was televised, but of course everybody's out on the beach and sunbathing and stuff, not watching TV. So we did the opposite. We did our series in the winter when everybody's at home in front of the fire, and we got good TV ratings, and actually more than Motorsport New Zealand ever got. And we're the first ones to innovate a lot of stuff. We're the first ones outside F1 to have electric gear change in our class, with pedals on the steering wheel. We're the first to have actually beaded seats. We actually beat F1 on that. A friend of mine, Mike Roloff, works in the wheelchair industry, and he was using that technology in wheelchairs, so we're the first to put that in the world in race cars. And we did a lot of stuff in our racing and pit stops and all that kind of stuff, that one lap qualifying that hadn't really been put together again. So that was a lot of fun. So we did that 4 years. In 2006, from 2002 to 2006 we did that, and then the business was obviously growing and everything else. We're doing corporate stuff as well, so a lot more of the corporate stuff coming down and drive the race cars as well as the schools. And then of course we had the big financial crash in 2008. Didn't really affect us until probably 2010, 11 is actually when it slowed down, interesting enough. So it took about 2.5 to 3 years before that to come through properly, which was quite interesting. And we went also, in that time we started doing V8s as well, so we had a fleet of those, 8 of those. And so we're just slowly growing the business and just growing it through cash flow, so we weren't indebting ourselves. So we were just, as the business was growing, when we could afford it, we would grow it, get another car, whatever. And that was all good. And then we kind of hit a bit of a snag there. I had a business partner who almost sent us broke, so we had to basically almost go back to square one and work very, very hard to get the business out of the hole. So I know what it's like to have, a huge amount of bills unpaid, no money coming in, and all that kind of scenario. So that was a lot of hard work on a very long time to get the business back on its feet again, out of the hole. And so we did that, we managed that, got it back to a good level field again, and then just a year and a half ago we got go-karts going as well. So we started go-karts, which we're running out here at the circuit as well. So, and of course that was going well right up until 2 months ago, from the big COVID-19 scenario. So that's basically where the business side of it came from, and my experience. I've had a lot of experience from starting a business to developing it into bigger stuff. I've had experience of going through some real tough times, tough enough that some people probably would have walked away, but I stayed in there and just to me, failure wasn't an option, so we just kept on going and carried on through. And obviously a lot of people around New Zealand and the world will be going through that same scenario now, and you just have to just grin and bear it, and just, if failure's not an option, just do the best you can, and you'll come out of it all right. So hopefully that everybody will be doing that. We're still obviously very, very slow here. We're waiting for a great weekend this weekend, but the weather's supposed to be not that good, which is unfortunate really. So that's a bit of my story. If you'd like to know anything else, please let me know, but like and share, and we'll get back to some normal topical views on some other stuff next time. All right, thanks for watching.